So we'll go ahead and pass it on to Emily and her crew. They're here to talk about the street conversions. Sure.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Emily Golak. I'm on the city's communications division. And one of the departments that I help support with outreach is the Public Works Department and Traffic Engineering. And we wanted to just take some time to get involved with this group, get to know you guys a little bit, introduce our team, and kind of bring back up a topic that has been in the works a little bit for a while, the two-way conversions, and really just kind of outline some things that could look well in this neighborhood, and kind of get your feedback and just kind of ask how we can keep you more involved in the process. So this is going to be just a really high-level overview of some of the things we're looking at. And then later this month, we'll have a more kind of detailed public meeting where we'll have more discussion, there'll be more opportunity for feedback. So we kind of want to introduce the topic here just to kind of get you guys thinking about it again. And I'll just let these guys introduce themselves and then we'll just kick it off. And we did bring some comment cards. If you have it now and you want to leave with us, we're happy to take that. But otherwise, we'll be back in touch with this group later this month.
All right.
Go back to
My name is Matt Myers, and I'm the city's traffic engineer.
I'm Robert. I'm a project engineer in the traffic engineering division.
And I also want to let Jennifer introduce herself.
Yes, Jennifer Graham, I'm the Community Development Director. Again, a lot of this is the technical stuff, but I'm also here to talk about, again, how this is fitting in with a lot of the other planning and exciting things going on in the area.
So we do have, well, first off, I just want to say thank you for letting us come and participate tonight. Really appreciate that opportunity. And this is going to be a fairly high level discussion, maybe not a lot of details, because we're going to probably lead into the public meeting and probably generate more interest for people to come attend and get feedback and really understand, even if they can't make that public meeting, maybe what the avenues are if they want to give us comments for anybody who doesn't come to the meetings. We do have a slide deck tonight, and so even though Jennifer's sitting down and Ron will probably take a seat here, we'll probably, as we go through, there'll be details and maybe questions tonight, and everybody that's here will probably answer them. I do want to point out, the reason why this is very high level is the fact that when we come to the public meeting, we'll probably have something that's sketched out onto the road. You'll see an arrow and actually be able to look at some things, because we can actually start with really looking at our policies and our guidelines, and we can kind of create something so it's not like a completely blank page. You can look at something and get an idea of maybe scale of what the project is, but we're really not to that point tonight. So, we'll see if we can get our technology to. There it comes. There we keep saying. Let's get it back in focus. All right, so one of the things that when we converted 2nd and 3rd Avenue in the downtown area, we're going to get back into a map and seeing overall how the city looks with all the two-way conversions. But one of the objectives that we look at when we look at two-way conversions, and some of the objectives that we actually get into, right now with 3 lanes in one direction, if you add the other half of that, you used to have 3 lanes and go in the other direction, that's like a 6-lane freeway. And so the purpose of having all those lanes going in one direction, one of the things that can happen is if somebody's going kind of slow and you're kind of bothered by that and you just want to switch lanes and speed up and go around them, there's really nothing that kind of controls speed. And so one of the things that we look at when we consider two-way streets is it's kind of a traffic calming effect. So we do look at one objective of actually slowing down traffic on these roads when we go from one-way to two-way. And this is something that can happen. I mean, the actual traffic can help control speeds. So that is one objective that we looked at. And when you look at the downtown area, that was one core objective that we were looking at to try and meet and hit our 25-mile-an-hour speed limit in the downtown area. The other thing that we look at as well as when we talk about pedestrian safety, somebody wants to walk across basically about 60 feet. You know, it takes, really and truly, it can take like 10 to 12 seconds to do that. And that's quite a bit. Today I was actually downtown and a gentleman was walking across the street, one of our four-way stops, he had a cane. And we sat there and waited for him for about 20 to 25 seconds to let him take his time to get across those lanes. And so when you can go from 3 lanes and you can bring that down to 2 lanes and you're cutting out about 12 to 14 feet, that can have a really high potential for increasing pedestrian safety. So that's a, kind of a second objective that we have. And then of course, every time we do change a road, one of the things that we look at is a complete streets mentality. I mean, bikes, pedestrians, cars, transit. When we look at a road, we look at what the gaps are in that for meeting anybody who's a user of the street. Now that is a city council directive. That's basically a decent guideline for what transportation really ought to be about. Because anybody who drives is a pedestrian. We are increasing bike usage across the city, and so that's something else that we look at. So we do see some opportunity within Wellington Heights. We have 3 lanes, and the traffic volume has changed so much, and we could look at the possibility of bike lanes on to Wellington Heights. I'm just seeing if everybody's kind of following. I see some heads nodding in the back. All right. So this is kind of the map of the city, and everything in red is the one-way streets, what's left. So I'm not really assuming that you can see everything on the map, so I'm just going to point out some stuff. So this is 2nd and 3rd Avenue right in here. This is kind of where the PCI building is. So what's left is that we are looking at this section right in here through Wellington Heights area. We're not really looking at reconstructing the road. We're just looking at what can we do between curb to curb and work with the width that we have. We feel like that's something that we can handle really within this year if we could. We are coming and looking at kind of the downtown area from like the PCI building coming in, whatever's left of the 2-way conversions, like around 7th Street and 8th Street. That's a little more complicated. If you've ever stopped and counted the amount of lanes that are in that area, there are like 7 lanes across. That's like a football field. And so there's more signals to take care of on that, and so that's going to take a little bit more time and probably get this into the next year. So the thing that we're really trying to do is just get rid of the gap from the downtown all the way up through 19th Street, so it's all 2-way traffic. That's kind of an objective. We get a lot of feedback by the fact that you can be on 2nd Avenue and you can go from 2-way traffic and 1-way traffic, 2-way traffic, and 1-way traffic. It's just
It's a mess right now. It is really bad, you guys.
so we're looking at 4th Avenue as well. This road is a split. This is actually a pavement for progress road, I believe, and it's like in 2018 or something like that. So that's when we're looking at that. This is Oakland and Center Point. We really don't have plans for that right now. We're really concentrating on 2nd and 3rd Avenue. Okay. One of the things that we did actually have, and maybe Jennifer can speak a little bit more to it, is the Wellington Heights neighborhood plan. And those are some core items that come out of that plan. I actually, the plan was done in 2013. I just want to tell you guys, I've only been in Cedar Rapids for a year. My 1-year anniversary is the end of March. I come from Missouri. So I wasn't around for this plan, but we did pull those basic goals out of it. And within that, it does talk about the elimination of the one-way streets, trying to improve connectivity and transportation, but also have some dedicated bicycle facilities, slowing down traffic speeds. And also, when I talk about major roads more pedestrian friendly, I've been here for a year. I've seen kids run across 3rd Avenue and just literally just run. And they're at the flasher, but they just run across. And that's something that really shouldn't happen on a road like 3rd Avenue, going through a neighborhood like that.
Especially a one-way.
Yes. So those are things that have been documented in the past, and I've already kind of talked about what our core objectives are with the projects that we've already constructed, and I think they're kind of well aligned with what things have been talked about in the past history around here. So I've already mentioned all these things. I'm going to mention them over and over again. We do look at pedestrian safety. This is a photograph. You can kind of count. We got 1, 2, 3, and we have a parking lane. So, you know, I look at that and I say we got 50 to 60 feet to play with there. Is there things that we can do to make it look good? What can we do to actually accommodate bicycles? And can we actually get some sort of traffic calming where you can actually hit the speed limit? When you see somebody driving on the road and you're coming out on the driveway, you can look at them and say, okay, I can assume that they're really driving about 30 and not 40. I think that's the kind of differences that we're talking about. So Ron's kind of helped with these couple of slides, so he may be getting a little nervous here. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say, I don't know if anybody's ever noticed, but I believe it's the intersection of 15th and 2nd. There's been a number of accidents right there. And people just run into people, their stop signs on 15th. But what happens is, it's a one-way street going east.
Okay.
It's like a raceway. It's unbelievable. It's like a raceway. I mean, trying to get across the street if you're walking is like negotiating where they're running in a demolition derby.
Yes.
You know, last summer I saw 2 accidents there last summer. It's not good. That's something about that intersection. It's just down a bit, like 2 blocks down from the police station. 2 blocks coming this way. It's a bad street.
So she brought up a couple of things. She talked about crash histories and she talked about like field conditions, like how things would operate. One of the things that's interesting about 2nd Avenue and 3rd Avenue, you know, 2nd Avenue may have about 1,000 to 2,000 cars a day. And that's kind of an approximation based on the information that we have on hand. So between now and probably the first part of April, and really for the public hearing, we're going to be collecting traffic volume, actual speed information, and we'll probably look at crash history. And typically when we look at crash history, we look at mainly like a 5-year period. And so sometimes you have a high year, sometimes you have a low year, so 5 years kind of gives us a kind of a complete picture of what's going on. So I say that because I anticipate when we walk into the meeting that, you know, people may give us some feedback about, well, how much traffic, how is it going to change? You know, you make these two-way operationally, is that going to draw traffic to the streets? I would say probably not. It'll probably kind of equalize out just a little bit.
And it'll definitely slow it down.
Yes, I would actually say that, most definitely. And so when you look at something like this, when I talk about what traffic calming really is, if somebody's coming in this driveway and they're driving actually the speed limit, which I think this is 30. You come into that and you look over here and you see all these gaps. All you gotta do is flip over a lane and you can take off and drive whatever speed you choose. And it's a very difficult thing to enforce. It's a very difficult thing to actually control. And if we can do something physically with the road where it actually does it on its own without asking for law enforcement, you know, that's something that we're going to start looking at.
Yeah.
So this is where Ron's going to sweat us a little bit. This is kind of some of his handiwork. And so you can bring it down to a 2-lane road. You can add parking on both sides. You can start talking about a bike lane. We do have kind of a pedestrian signal in here. So when we come into the public meeting, we kind of expect maybe some feedback and maybe some thoughts about what they want to see, how they want to see the road looking in this neighborhood. And we'll probably come with something that at least we can physically put from curb to curb and say, okay, here's something that fits our guidelines. This is kind of how it looks, and give you kind of a starting point, or kind of a place that you can give us some feedback. More from an aerial view as opposed to just looking down the road itself. And something like this, when you start saying, okay, now we want to hit 30 miles an hour on a 2-lane road, you know, it can handle about 6,000 to 8,000 cars a day. And you don't have that kind of volume now.
Yeah, you know, 2 ways is fine, but, you know, there's no stoplight between there and 19. What's, you know, it's just constant. So are you all planning on putting in some stop signs, some, you know, stop lights? You know, that always is.
Yeah, so we'll collect kind of a baseline for traffic volumes. We do have warrants, and usually they're based on volumes, and we'll look at the crash history. And I kind of feel like when we come into the public meeting, I anticipate somebody saying, okay, it's funny, somebody asked for stop signs, and for us, we kind of see, you know, people come from both sides of the issue, and we'll probably get feedback for and against just a little bit. So we will probably look at stop signs, we'll probably consider signals, and really what some of those appropriate places are, if they are the right decision to do.
Well, you know,
I'll come back.
I hate to be, you know, like, you know, you're saying that it's gonna slow traffic down, that I'd be interested to see how many speeding tickets was given out on Fourth Avenue out here before this change came up in the last year. With, you know, if it's all about the speed and stuff like that, then there should have been a big, increase in traffic citations for speeding.
Oh, that could be.
Has there been anybody hit on Fourth Avenue before this two-way change for pedestrian safety? Is that, you know, I've never heard of anybody getting hit out there. You know, the only thing I know is that it's a quicker way in and out of the medical district.
Well, to me,
I'm
I'm
a fact person. I want to see facts for what has been told to me. You know, if it's a speed thing, that's fine, but I want to see where that's coming from. I want to see.
And we'll start with the public hearing with those facts and we'll move forward. So that's absolutely right. Okay, now, can I go back on that? Actually, did you have your hand up? Or just a second?
Yeah, just to follow up on Ivan's question, point about having some sort of stop signals, you know, right there at Park Court, there's, you know, a pedestrian light you can push, goes from Redmond over to the other side. So even when I walk to the credit union on 18th Street, I have to time it just right. So having something like that on 18th Street would, and 17th for that matter, would really help.
Yeah, and I think that's an issue that I think we'll keep coming back to. Okay. Do you have your hand up?
So, back when this was initially presented to the neighborhood, and everybody came out, walked around the neighborhood, up on the top half of Wellington Heights by 19th Street, we had this small little street called Ridgewood Terrace that everybody tears up like maniacs. And the city at the time told me they did not know what they were going to do with that little tiny street. It's the cutoff for 3rd Avenue. So when you're whipping up 3rd Avenue and you don't want to take the time to turn right, you cut up my street.
Okay.
And they had said, we're going to block it off, we're going to do this, we haven't decided. Has anybody come up with anything?
At the public meeting, because that's not the only connection. There's a lot of goofy intersections all on 3rd Avenue.
Yeah, because it's a Y, or a W intersection actually.
So there is a memo, actually a technical evaluation from another consulting firm. So we have some things that were done and looked at some of those connections. I kind of think that we'll probably start from that and maybe bring that to the public meeting and just kind of see if people give us some feedback on that. Because you can do some restrictions and you can change those connections. There's a lot of them. You know, somebody, I wouldn't say it's not going to be a perfect rule for everybody, but just the kind of, we could show something within that plan and then kind of get some feedback from the neighborhood. Because there's a lot of them. There's Y intersections and then you kind of feed in the 3rd Avenue.
As long as you do your research for 5 days, you find out how many cars are controlled on that street.
Sure.
So, I mean, right partly from your house.
Yeah. Yep. I saw a hand over here.
I'm on 4th Avenue between 16th and 15th. And you guys, since I've noticed, like we sit on my porch a lot.
Okay.
Even in the wintertime, we sit out there. But I've noticed a big difference. So by me seeing it is backing up. And the way I've noticed it is a couple of times we've had our neighbor, you know, all the neighbors have dogs. They run out in the street, and since you guys installed this stop sign down here, the traffic moves so much slower. They actually stop before they hit the dog. So that's a good thing. Because since I've lived here, I've seen a lot of dogs hit, you know, because the traffic, when it was a one-way, it just flew down there. So it really does. I've seen it. So that's my thing. You know, I've seen it. That it does slow down.
So, on this picture, is that going to be a through bicycle lane where side parking is now?
I'm sorry, say it
So
again.
on the top of this street, up on 19th, there's a set of lights. In its current position, it actually is on that right-hand side, is actually on street parking. Those people don't have garages, so that's going to go away from the bicycle lane.
Actually, we'll take all that to the public hearing and kind of show how it lays out. Because when you physically measure it out for the entire length, things like parking restrictions, whether or not something needs to be moved, the Y intersections, your little, talking about, we can really get into those details and let people kind of see. We'll probably lay down an aerial photo so they can pick out their house and really look at that. This here is really just kind of a concept, to me, and that's why Ron's kind of sweating. I wouldn't take this as what we're going with into that public meeting. It'll be a lot more rooted into reality.
I understand the bicycle thing. I love riding my bike, always have. The biggest problem though with the bicycles and actually introducing them into residential neighborhoods is they do not follow the same rules, nor do they stop at stop signs, nor do they do the things that they're supposed to do while driving on a street that they share with the cars. And I'm very concerned the more we put bicycle lanes in places, potentially we're going to have more and more people getting hurt. Because it's not like it used to be with bicycles where most of them were, you saw them on the sidewalk all the time, but you kind of at least knew they were coming when you were walking the other direction.
So this is my response to that. Bicycles are a legal vehicle in Iowa, actually in every state. And this here, a bike lane, is just to kind of get people out of the way. That deals with the safety aspect. But if the bike lane isn't there, they can be in the lane.
Yep. And
So there's no introduction here. They are a legal vehicle, and we have to accommodate that.
they also, from what I understand, at least back when I was 7 into the bike safety class, you have to abide by stop signs, stop lights. You're not allowed to run them, you're not allowed to stop and go.
You're not supposed to speed, you shouldn't run through stop signs, you're absolutely right. The same people that drive and get on the bike, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's a definite conflict. And they can be pulled over for violating safety laws, absolutely. Do you have a question?
Yeah, speaking of bicycle lanes, being an addict, a bicyclist myself, on 3rd Avenue as you're traveling east, currently along the curb, it's pretty treacherous for a bicyclist. Is the pavement going to get repaved prior to the conversion?
No, probably not on this portion of it, because the condition of this road is actually not that bad compared to a lot of stuff that we've got right now. And that's one of the reasons why we're kind of looking at maybe stripe removal for the surface of this road. It would be awesome to repave the road every time and create something from the black or white up. And that's just not really an option that we have at this point. There are portions of 3rd Avenue that are going to get repaved this year, like through the downtown area, and those are really pretty rough. But this section, this is more stable than a lot of roads that we're touching right now, so no, that's not really part of the plan. And it's kind of odd too, because when we get into the middle part, this is not the part in this part of the neighborhood. When we get down to 7th Street, that middle part, I said it's 7 lanes wide, that pavement's almost brand new. And so, we're going to have to remove that stripe and play with this lane markings as well. I would love to repave, if we could actually repave something and get it to that black. You can mark anything you want, everyone's pristine. The money that we're trying to stretch across the city, as we pay for progress in other areas, we're just trying to make that hit really the roads that really need to be redone, like 42nd Street, the whole road. Yes.
I live in Lynn Boulevard, so I come back down 2nd, 3rd Avenue, and I look at that, it really looks like a neighborhood. That street, it looks like a neighborhood other than that's how fast can I get from 10th Street. It's got like a feel to it, given the...
Yeah, I'm not sure a lot of people understand the way the one-way streets and how it was kind of communicated to me. I'm new here. 3 lanes, sometimes 4. It was like, get everybody in to downtown with the Armstrong Center or the tech companies, and then at the end of the day, flush them all out. And when you say it like that, speed was kind of an inherent part of the design. We're trying to reverse that and try and make it more of a neighborhood. Any way we can. I'm not sure we have a lot of slides. Are you going to have some questions? No. Okay.
Yeah, I got one. Do you think that's pushed more traffic on 1st Avenue now?
Do I think this will push more traffic?
And do you think 4th Avenue conversion does?
When we looked at volumes of 1st Avenue, the volumes of 1st Avenue have actually gone down a little bit. So if things have pushed onto 1st Avenue, We're not even up to the volumes that have been there in the past. The signal timing isn't real great on First Avenue. You know, if I was coming down 19 and I wanted to go to downtown, if I wanted to consider Third Avenue, if that was a two-way street, I would think about it, but it's still kind of a, you know, we're trying to create it to be a 30-mile-an-hour road, and First Avenue can handle, still can handle a little bit more traffic. You see the queues in the morning, you see them at night, but it can actually still handle a little bit more at higher speed. You know, when I drive it, like let's take this picture. Let's go up. You know, when I look at that, I see 1, 2 cars, and then you go all the way up to the top of the hill, and you see these cars right up in here, and you see empty road, all the way down to the silver car. You know, if each one of those lanes was full, I mean, you're looking at like a 30,000 car a day road. Personally, if we changed it to two-way, I think it would be right size in the inway. I don't know if it has to really pull traffic off of First Avenue or push more onto it. I think First Avenue, we're always going to try to keep it to be the traffic-hungry road it needs to be, because when 380 gets closed down, we want First Avenue to be able to handle that spillover. And so we're always going to have the signals there really timed for, you know, a moderately high-speed material, 35 miles an hour. We want the trucks on there. We want that thing to really run and be, which is really sad because we get down to Double Tree and you see all the sections trying to go across. You know, we're trying to balance that as well, but you got to have First Avenue to really connect the region of the city. And this is a little different now. And I kind of wonder, your question is a little interesting because as the downtown really transforms and there's more people and more places to go, that actually might make Third Avenue again more of a connection between this neighborhood and there. If you want to go down and eat at a restaurant or shop a little more.
Just to me, it feels like First Avenue's busy.
Yeah.
Well, you know why?
Feels like it.
Because they blocked Second Ave. That's why, because Second Ave was blocked on that medical building, and everybody went over to First Ave, but people are going down to Second Ave. Can't get to downtown anymore.
Yeah.
So they go on First Ave.
So Third Avenue has about 4,000 to 5,000 cars a day. And with the PCI building that plan on Second Avenue, if we want to do some traffic on it, it's actually, Second Avenue is like around 1,000. And that's tremendously less traffic on it.
Than what it used to.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Did you have questions?
On First Avenue, the pedestrian situation is even worse. There is no stoplight between 16th and 19th. And so if you try to cross First Avenue, for example, to go from Collins over to Wells Fargo, then you just take your life in your hands. So is there something that can be done with little pedestrian lights similar to the ones that are on Third Avenue between Redmond and Park Court?
Yeah, we can come back to that situation and look at it. I can't say that we have any firm plans for something like that. And we probably haven't really evaluated that as a traffic engineering study here lately, but we can get into that. For expanding this project, we're keeping pretty focused on that because we have a timeline and we actually want to complete this. We've gotten a lot of feedback about let's get rid of these gaps and just the herky-jerky way that the avenues are operating right now.
I've got a question about the traffic, but it's in regard.
Give me this young lady.
That's okay, no problem. I'll make it quick. We were on Second today coming home. We had gone over to, I think Sam's, I'm not sure. We were coming back, maybe the long way around, I don't know. But as we were driving, coming this way, one of the pedestrian lights there went off, and it seemed like there was a school or a playground right there. And the people were trying to get across, and they were standing there. And I remember saying to Carol, I said, what's going on here? They're not stopping for the people to get across. My point is that pedestrian lights are wonderful. It's a great thing. The problem is, it's like not like a street light. And so it's on an honor system. And I think we get to be programmed to stop at street lights mostly for our own safety, because somebody's going to come by and smack us, possibly. But with a pedestrian light, people just kept going across, and we drove up, and as we stopped, people stopped behind us. but people in front of us just rocketed right through while the people were trying to get across.
Yes, and so there is a wide range of pedestrian treatments that go all the way from just flashing lights and warning signs, all the way up to what we would call an actual traffic signal. It's got red and yellow that forces traffic to stop for pedestrians. We do have that full range, and we can all talk about, that can be something that we contemplate. All right. Yes.
Yeah. Lieutenant Howard, with the 4th Avenue and that becoming a two-way, have you noticed if it didn't use with your patrols or trying to catch somebody or?
No. I don't see a big difference at all. It's nice you can go either way though. But no, I haven't noticed anything.
So, kind of talk about maybe the next steps. We've had a lot of great discussion tonight. We're shooting for a public meeting on March 31st. And we don't really have a place set up, so maybe that might be the first thing to really talk about is where would, a good place to be for the meeting. And also how to get the word out. That's probably the second thing that I would like to actually mention. The way the public meetings that we usually typically do is we usually have some sort of overview and a little bit of a PowerPoint to kind of introduce everybody to what's going on. And then eventually we'll actually, we'll end that. And then we'll have actual drawings on the table and let people ask very specific questions, maybe around their house, and actually look a little more direct. So like when we talked about that little cut through, you can literally, you can point at it, you can talk about it, you can actually write your comments on the aerial if you want. So it's truly recorded. Emily talked about, we have comment cards, we have email that's set up already for at least traffic. And so even though there may be people who don't come to the meeting, they still want to get feedback, we can probably still get some stuff back as well if you want. But really the public meeting is probably the first major step. Jennifer might actually have some of her planning staff there. Ron and I will be there. Emily will probably help out as well. So probably a good place for it if you want to just think about it. And just you can email us back. Jason, I can give you my business card and email. You can think about it. And maybe how many people you thought might show up. That might be good. And I would say, speak to your friends and neighbors and go ahead and invite them so that they can show up and give us what they're thinking is. You guys are already starting to hit on all the major issues. We probably spend about an hour and a half with our public meetings typically. Even though there's kind of an overview or PowerPoint at the beginning, it's really almost like an open house. People can come and leave, and it doesn't make any difference if you're not right there at the very beginning. You can still come in and talk to someone face to face and at least get your thoughts down and then get your questions at least documented or answered. Yes.
Our second, third avenue designated snow routes. Because I'm not even sure about the status now of Fourth Avenue being snow routes.
I really couldn't even tell you.
I see the sign's still there, but I see people not moving their cars.
I think they are, because I can't imagine somebody took the time to change everything.
Yeah, ours is. It is,
There's a lot of things that you don't really think about when you change something to two-way. So any of the parking restrictions, any resolutions that are on there, we typically get that whole laundry list and we try to look at, okay, what do we need to change? Because you flip it around, you got both directions, you just got to change a lot of stuff. There may be actually more parking lots, and so we got to take personal parking resolutions and allow people to park outside when possible. It's kind of wild. There's some ancient history to start digging into when you do that. So the snow routes, that's just like the tip of the iceberg. Parking's a big one. All right, I want to go back over the team. There's at least one person that wasn't here. So, I've been here for a year, but I've been a traffic engineer for almost 25 years, pretty much. Ron's actually been on staff for quite a while as a traffic engineer. Gary Peterson's not here tonight, and he's helping us get through the process with just really getting through bidding and process and helping us with what it takes to get through city council. But Gary actually is from traffic for a long time. He's been here for, I think, 30 years. So we've got a lot of reach back with some history. Jennifer's here, and this is Emily. And this is really kind of the working group for this project. So Jennifer actually has reached back to about 5 or 6 people that help us a lot with our outreach and thinking about what the future impacts are for when changing the road and how it impacts the neighborhood. There's a lot of deep knowledge in that as well. Any other thoughts? I do want to say, really, thank you for letting us be here. Hopefully this process is painless and we can answer your questions and maybe move forward. I see a thumbs up on the back. And if you have ideas or if there's something about the feedback stream that you just didn't like or want something a little different, just let us know. Typically it's either mail in or email or a phone call, and that's fine. We can start taking that tomorrow if you want. Jennifer.
Yes, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to those people that I see that had attended our other meeting that we held tonight too, which was a Historic Preservation Commission workshop. We're doing some updating to our codes regarding the implementation of historic preservation in our community, and there is 2 local districts within this neighborhood. So again, I appreciate everyone's efforts tonight for again coming to that, and I think in this meeting as well. So a lot of great input I know from that session. So I can't wait to see the results from that. So again, thank you so much.
Yeah, it'll be fun. This will be a fun project. You guys are great, really. Thank you. Thanks for letting us sit there.